evening. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our special meeting today. It's March 17, 2022 at approximately 5 o'clock. A, opening items. A1, call to order.
Trustees present this evening are Trustee Ciro Calderon, Trustee Magallanes, Trustee Alvarado, and Trustee Lorenzo Calderon Jr., with Trustee Romero absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Burgos. A2, Pledge of Allegiance. Joe, can you lead us? Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. B, comments from the public. The board will take any and all comments from the public related to a sole item on the agenda. Janet, do we have any?
No comments.
Thank you. C, discussion. C1, superintendent search process.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon. If I can begin. I'm Gary Rutherford. I'm here with my colleagues from Education Support Services, ESS. Thank you for the honor of awarding the contract to ESS to support the Board of Education as you seek your next superintendent. We're here tonight to kind of talk through elements of the search, to answer your questions, to seek your input, because we're ready to hit the ground running. Did I have it off? Thank you. Because we're ready to hit the ground running, and we're going to need your direction and support to do that. We're going to approach that in 3 chunks tonight, and if you look at your agenda in front of you, after we do some brief introductions, we're going to go into a discussion and actually engage you in a focus group. The same type of focus group we'll be doing across in your community. Second, we'll talk about your community and your community engagement and how we're going to engage and how you'd like us to engage and connect with your stakeholders both in the district and in your greater community. And then we'll conclude with a talk through the timeline and process. From there, we will recess into closed session in case there are items around personnel and specific information that falls under safe harbor language for closed session. That's kind of an overview of our work tonight. I started off with my introduction. I'm Gary Rutherford. I'm a retired school district superintendent, retired in 2017 from Desert Sands Unified. So I drove in from La Quinta past the fragrant Salton Sea to join you guys out here for our meeting tonight. And actually, that's kind of a beautiful drive. I forget. I don't get to make that very often. Before that, I was superintendent for 16 years before I retired. So since I retired, I've been doing superintendent searches and working with school boards across the state as a consultant with ESS. Mr. Lopez.
Good evening. Juan Lopez. I started as an aide for 3 years. That's where my career got off the ground. I worked as certificated for 39 years, 35 of those years in administration, 25 as assistant soup of HR. The last district was Santa Ana, 60,000 kids. I got to be a superintendent. I felt very fortunate. I was at Valverde, which is Moreno Valley and Paris, 20,000 kids. And I retired in 2015. I've had an interim superintendent assignment every year since. And I've worked with both gentlemen on searches in the past, and we do some work in different school districts. People say, why do you work? I said, I love participating, and I never wanted to be a file you put on the shelf. I want to be able to share and be part of things that are good. So I'm here for that reason. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Joe Condon. I'm also a retired superintendent. I was a superintendent for 19 years in LA County, and before that I ran a human resources department in Orange County for 9 or 10 years. And I have done searches and board superintendent consultations, superintendent evaluations since I retired. Any questions that you have of us? 19 years as a superintendent, 9 years before that as an assistant superintendent. Before that I was a classroom teacher and a principal.
All by which of ways of saying we're pretty old, the 3 people in front of you here. We still got some mileage left in us for Calexico. Tonight, so you've met us, got a little information. We'd like to turn the tables and get to know you a bit. We're going to be working very closely in the next few months, and so we're going to take a minute to go slow so we can go fast. And Lorenzo, if I can start with you, Mr. Calderon, two really brief questions of introduction, and they're on your agenda in front of you, is what first inspired you to run for the school board? What was that moment you said, I need to do this? And then what do you hope your legacy will be in Calexico when your term or your time as a trustee ends?
All right. What motivated me in 2014, I retired. And seeing that our district was still the same even when I went to school, through the high school. In fact, I was born in Calexico, raised in Calexico, went to schools in Calexico. I'm considered a product of Calexico. And when I retired after, 29 and a half years, we had a few friends over the house, and the elections were up. And they had been telling me, hey, what are you going to do when you retire? And one of my comadres, which is godmother to one of my daughter, and she said, you need to run. You need to, help us out in the district. And that's how I started my vision. At that time, I only had one child in our school district. Everyone else had already gone through the district, and he was the last one that was still left. And it was good to see him graduate. And in fact, I was on the stage when he graduated. And I've seen changes for the better in Calexico. I know there's still a lot of changes still left. And with that said, I think just being from Calexico, I think my passion for Calexico has always been there, especially for our students to see them succeed and put Calexico on the map. And that attributes to everybody, from our custodians to our principals to our teachers, anybody that has to do with the district. I think they're a big part of this whole equation, in other words. And that was the reason why it inspired me to become.
And what
a
do you
board
hope
member.
your legacy will be when your time as a trustee is
What-
finished?
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
No,
but
you're fine.
I hope it's a positive one. I know that there have been a lot of turmoil, but with turmoil, there's always something good that always comes behind it. And I know we're Calexicans, and things are not always going to be right. But I can assure you, having I guess, being a stakeholder, I'm not only a board member, but I also live here. I pay taxes. I mean, I want Calexico to flourish. I think that we'll come up with a solution. Hopefully, your team will guide us right, and we can get a superintendent so we can go on and do what we need to do, and that is put our kids first. And with that said, I'll leave it to the rest of my peers. But again, thank you for coming today. We've been waiting for you, and hopefully we can get over this hump. And especially I had a long talk with you and Joe, our negotiations. I believe that is, and I only speak for myself, and I'm sure that the board will agree that is one of our main priorities right now. Our negotiations to settle with our teachers, make them whole, and hopefully we can go back to what Calexico was, and that is family-oriented environment. That's all I have.
That would be
Thank
a great
you.
legacy. Thank you. Mr. Alvarado.
Well, I am not originally from Calexico. I graduated from Holtville in 1995. I met my wife, soon married. She is from here, from Calexico. I've been living here since 2001. As soon as I was here in Calexico, my father-in-law started coaching Pop Warner for Calexico back in 2001, 2002 per se. And soon after that, I just started joining them on the field, helping out, our local youth, getting involved with the youth. Prior to those years, in 95 during high school, I was actively involved here in Calexico also as well. They used to do a play called His Last Days. So since then, I want to say back in 1990, 92, 93, I was actually out here a lot with the local youth also as well. So what got me into that, actually, back when I was in high school, we lost a lot of good teachers from Hopewell High School to Calexico. This is something I've always mentioned, and something that Calexico back then was a pinnacle of the educational system here in the valley. And that's one of those things that, I say it, I keep on mentioning, that's what I want Calexico to be back again, be that pinnacle. And it does have that, that spark in it. It's just, as Mr. Calderon said, it's just, hopefully, that's one of those things that's in the back of everybody's mind is right now what we're currently going through, which is negotiations. That's pretty big, but just getting back to why I decided to run. I decided to run because my oldest daughter graduated from here, from Calexico. I do have 2 boys. My boys didn't graduate from here. My oldest boy graduated from Southwest High School. I have another one that's going to graduate from Southwest here pretty soon. But my daughter's growing up, and she is going through the system. They all went through elementary here. My daughter is in elementary. She's in 3rd grade. And I want her to graduate from here. So my thing is, to go ahead and just, make it right for everyone, to be here. We have lost a lot of good athletes, a lot of good teachers. The years, prior to me being on the board, currently we have lost some teachers also as well. My thing is just, being a competitive school once again, and being one of the top schools again. That's my biggest thing. And that's pretty much it as far as legacy goes. I really just want to put Calexico back at what it was, and that is being the pinnacle of educational system. Other than that, I mean, that's pretty much what I want for everybody, is just or for our students to don't forget where they came from, and actually come back and be productive members of our society. But the same thing, whenever our students go out and are out and around other schools, for them to know where they're from, and leave that stamp wherever they go. That's pretty much it.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Alvarado. Ms. Magallanes.
Hello, I'm originally a student. Well, my name is Margarita Magallanes. I'm the newest board member. I've been a student here in Calexico Unified School District, and I was a migrant student going up and down California. My mom used to work in the migrant field, so I was up and down California, and I always came back to Calexico. So I ended up staying here as an adult, and this is where my home is at. So my kids are going here in school, and what inspired me to run for the board was to be a parent, to be here, a voice for the parents. There wasn't any mothers here, and that was one of my reasons. Also was that I decided to purchase a home here in Calexico, so that was a big one for me. I decided to raise my kids here, and also to keep on having my children here. Also, what I think the legacy, and I hope I can be an asset here on the board, is to be able to make better decisions and wise decisions for the rest with the board members. Being able to hire better quality teachers, recruit better teachers, and also the teachers that really inspired me and motivated me when I was a student, and it really made me become a better adult.
Wow.
So, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Margarita. Mr. Calderon.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well, thanks.
So, what inspired me to run for the board? I graduated in '90. Things were great. People wanted to come to Calexico. I had my best friend coming from El Centro. to be a student. So that's what I want. I want people to come back to Calexico instead of saying, "Oh, again, it's only Calexico," because that's a saying, only in Calexico. So I want that to be gone. Okay, and that's part of the legacy that I want to leave. I don't think it's a legacy because I'm not a pop star or a singer. Okay, I'm a politician, and my job is to make sure that this district is run right. And basically, that's what I want. When I leave, that this district is running right. That's all I want.
Excellent.
I don't need to get paid. I don't need to take credit. But I have a daughter that's already here. She's gonna be a sophomore. I want her to have a good time. That's it.
So I hear a lot of shared purpose among the board. Leave it better for the kids, make it better than you found it. I've heard only in Calexico. And our goal is to make only Calexico mean only the best happens in Calexico. And that same statement, but maybe a different meaning.
Well,
So-
we had a good run in the '90s. We were great.
Yeah.
Okay, people wanted to come over here as a student, as teachers. They wanted to come here. Okay, and that's all I want.
Okay.
For people to fight to come and work for this district. That's what I want. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So with that, part of what we do as our service is we go out in your community and we ask questions to get more information about who that perfect candidate would be for Calexico. And Dr. Condon's gonna kind of lead an exercise. I'm gonna be his Vanna White back here taking notes while he does that. Joe?
We'll meet with, and we'll confirm this with you, but we'll meet with employees, classified employees, certificated employees, management personnel, and community members, and perhaps some high school students, and ask them a series of questions. I'm gonna ask you the same series. You have that information in front of you. But what do you see as the strengths of the district today? And this is a conversation, it's really not one-on-one. So what do you see as the strengths of Calexico today? I'm asking you the question.
I think it's a
Yeah.
family-oriented community.
Okay.
Everybody's related,
Okay.
knows each other.
So as the community is family related, what about the school district? Same thing?
Yeah, it's the same.
Okay.
I think there's some great staff that currently work here. We have, I think, some great staff that do work here and want the best, for our students. That's one of the, strengths I see.
Actually, I think our greatest asset is our students.
Okay.
We have great students. If you watched our A to G participation completion, we got one of the highest A to G's completion rates.
Okay.
And that's because of this. It has to do a lot from top to the bottom, and because all those people affect the outcome of our students. So
Focused on
Yes.
student achievement.
exactly.
Okay.
I think for the next few years, our challenges here in the district will be the student enrollment, and that would create something in our financials. But hopefully, we can better work with our district so we can bring our students back. So that's pretty much the plan.
Okay, that's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
What do you see as the strengths of the district today?
Oh,
No, that's okay.
I was looking at the wrong.
No,
question then.
we want
Okay.
that, so that
We're
you're,
ahead of the game now.
you're just ahead of
Okay.
yourself. That's okay, that's fine.
At least I can speak, when I was in high school here, I mean, I can count the teachers that actually inspired me. I mean, we have a lot of professionals, a lot of lifetime professionals that have dedicated their lives to educating. I mean, I still can say that, I mean, none of my teachers are teaching, by the way, I graduated in 1980. Some of my, high school, colleagues are still teaching, they're teachers now, but I can tell that, I mean, professionalism is, for the most part, is up there.
Okay.
Great history,
Pardon me?
great history in Calexico.
Great history of the
Yeah.
district?
Not only the district, but the students that went here also as well.
Okay.
But there is great history as far as like for sports, some of the, coaches that, coached here. It's just, I mean, there is a lot of great history, here as far as that goes. I wasn't even aware that, The gentleman that just passed away from Sesame Street actually went to school here in Calexico,
Yeah.
and that's one of those things that I was
Correct,
looking
yeah.
at. I didn't even know that. So there, I mean, there's been students that have ran through these halls that have some great past here and stuff like that. There's also students that have gone on to become on California's Supreme Court as far as that goes also as well. And I wasn't even aware of that until a couple years back, about 5 years ago. So there is great history. There's teachers here that actually have a lot of pride also as well. They grew up here, like my colleague was saying, he graduated from here, and there is, a lot of pride and stuff like that as far as that goes.
Margarita, did you have anything to add? What are the assets of this school district today? Okay,
Yeah.
kids.
Our students, that would be one. The teachers that make the difference, that make the impact
Okay,
on our students.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else on that?
The gentleman that Mr. Alvarado was mentioning, Tino Cuellar, he graduated with me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're the reason he was so successful.
I don't think so, but I just had to tell you.
You are very,
Class
very
of
good.
90.
Thank you. So, as we go out and recruit and we talk to candidates, why would they want to come here? If they were having a cup of coffee with you, what would you tell them the reasons are that they want to come here?
I think, and I go back again to, the history that Mr. Alvarado was talking about. There's a lot of families here that, a lot of, well, there's classes different as far as incomes and so forth, but all of them, as a whole, want their kids to do better. And I see a lot of grandmothers, a lot of parents pushing their kids to do better. And you see it because we do send a lot of our kids to college, and a lot of them graduate. I think the home base and the support from the home is there. We just gotta exploit it and make sure that we reinforce it with the resources that we have here to make sure that the parents are, doing what they have to do when the kids go home and so forth.
So a
Another, open communication.
community that supports education? Am I
Exactly.
putting?
They do,
Yeah, okay.
but I think the communication's not there. I think that once we open the communication, I think we'll see more engagement from our community.
And let me ask you a different question. Communication between whom?
It goes, it comes down from us, down, and it comes from the parent up to us.
Okay.
I mean, we're constantly getting calls, this is happening, or this is going on, and so forth. The communication's there, it's just that, I think we just need to reinforce it, and hopefully, the involvement will be there. It's there. We have a lot of truancy right now, and why is because we haven't reached out to these families and say, it's important that your kid comes to school. Not only because it reduces the ADA, but it's important for a kid. Every day that a kid loses a day of school is a loss for him, or
Right.
her.
Okay.
It's important. A lot of old families here, a lot of families that have been here, and a lot of migrant families too, that have gone up north to work and come back, and there's still some that do that. I don't know. I mean, when I was in school, there was a lot of families that would move during certain seasons, crop seasons,
Right.
and then come back. So, but I can tell you one thing, that when they would leave and then come back, they were better readers, they were better writers, because they were, going to schools up in Northern California and so forth. So, and again, I think I could say that Calexico is a diamond in the rough right now.
Okay.
And with all these resources nowadays and the money that we have, I think we can actually put Calexico on the map.
Okay.
I think just piggyback what he said, tradition. I think tradition is also, and it's going back to what I said about the history. The tradition here is also great. Not only that, there's a lot of good things going on here in Calexico right now currently. there's a lot of buildings going up, new buildings. But I think right now is the right time to get the right individual here that's going to steer us into that next, pretty much what our goal is and stuff, what we want at the end. And I think we all feel the same that, we want Calexico back to what it was, back, he mentioned it back in the 90s. I think it was like, even the 80s, from what I recall. It was, I mean, Calexico was, everybody would talk about it. I know when I was on certain, going out to certain competitions, stuff like that, with the high school that I went to, Calexico was always, top as far as it goes. They would always, excel in math, and things like that also as well. I mean, it was always rich as far as that goes. But right now, just getting back to the other subject as what's going on here in Calexico right now, there's a lot of growth as far as buildings and stuff like that. The thing is attracting the teachers here also as well to want to come to Calexico.
Right.
That's one of those things that I think later on we're going to be diving into. But that to me is going to be something big, is bringing that individual here that has, not that command presence, but has that, how can I say it, experience of helping the board to steer us in the right direction and come to some type of accord with our unions as far as that goes.
Okay.
And getting back to the unions, I think the unions have a lot of, and they can say there's a lot of fire in them also as well, passion as far as that goes, and that passion, you could see it. And with that said, I think there's a lot of passion that they put into their classrooms also as well. That's another strength also that I've seen as far as that goes.
Okay. So why would I seek Calexico? Why would a candidate seek Calexico? And you've talked about that, but I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to do that.
I can tell you it's not for the weather.
I live in the desert too, so
Well, I gotta,
I understand.
I think whoever comes to Calexico has an opportunity to, move Calexico forward.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, because it's there, you just gotta move it.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. You won me on that one. I was gonna say pretty much the superintendent that wants to seek out this position is pretty much gonna be a hero.
Why?
A hero? Why?
Yeah.
Because there's so many things going on. For example, negotiations that haven't been going up to date every year.
Right.
With our two unions, our children moving out of schools. I mean the district to other cities. So I think that would be a challenge a superintendent would like to take, but also be the hero, as I mentioned.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you don't have to comment. I just want to make sure you have the chance to, so. No, I said you don't have to, but if you want to, please do. So why would I seek this?
The next superintendent needs to know what needs to be done. That superintendent needs to have a plan. That
Okay.
superintendent needs to know Calexico. Then the superintendent needs to have the ins and outs of Calexico.
Okay.
We are a very special district, close to the border. Our ADA dropping. So the superintendent needs to have a plan. So,
Okay.
and not anybody's going to take on this assignment.
Right.
Not because of us, but because of the challenge of Calexico in itself.
Okay.
It's going to be, that superintendent needs to know what he or she's doing.
Right.
So, he or she needs to be prepared.
Okay, and just so you know, enrollment statewide is dropping.
Yes.
So it's not unique
No.
to your district, but it is. So you've mentioned it, but I want to make sure we hit it head on. What are the challenges? If I'm coming in as your superintendent, what are the challenges I'm going to be facing? You mentioned declining enrollment. That's one of them. Negotiations. Now, will negotiations be finished by the time I come in?
We're hoping.
Okay, now, but I understand that. But you're looking prospectively. How do we keep ahead of this in the future?
Well, that's
what I
why
think
we
you
want a
said.
superintendent. Well, we want a superintendent that's gonna know how to handle these negotiations also as well.
Okay.
that has some type of history dealing with negotiations. I think that's big.
Okay,
Like Mr. Alvarado said, deal with negotiations. The superintendent to deal with the negotiations.
okay. Does your superintendent sit at the bargaining table?
No.
Okay,
At times, I think, right?
I don't think so.
okay,
I don't
that's
know.
fine.
Has-
I
has
just,
he said
no,
that
no,
once
that's
or
okay.
twice?
I just wanted to,
I don't think so.
Has he?
No.
No?
No.
No. Okay, thank you. So what are the what other challenges do you see the district facing?
Well, right,
Well,
okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
okay,
COVID is not going away.
that's right. COVID is statewide, nationwide.
Yes.
How do we deal with that? What else?
Well, declining enrollment means funding.
Correct?
So that in itself is a huge challenge.
Absolutely.
Without funding, we cannot run the state programs.
That's correct.
Our negotiations may stall because of funding, because we don't have enough money to cover those races.
Correct.
So again, that in itself is a big issue.
Okay. What are you looking for as far as qualities, experience? As we start to vet candidates, what do you want us to look for? What experience do you want? What qualities do you want? What capacity or capabilities do you want?
Honesty, integrity,
Okay,
a good communicator.
okay,
Leadership, being able to confront the board when there's something that we need to know and
We need to correct.
correct, exactly.
Say that again?
That we need to correct also as well. Like, let us know that, if there's something that we're lacking, that, it's not being done right by the board, go ahead and just let us know.
Okay.
And hopefully it comes with that experience also as well.
Okay.
Good
Anybody else?
listener,
Pardon me?
a great listener.
We need a 007.
What,
And
explain what you
I'm
mean
not
by that.
kidding. We need a half monk, half hitman. That person needs to know when to deal with us, and that person needs to be able to give us the good news, but also give us the bad news, and
Okay.
not be afraid to tell us what is it, like Mr. Alvarado said, when we're doing wrong.
Okay,
Okay,
confront that.
exactly. But at the same time, that person needs to be able to go into the community and let them know what's going on without making the community feel uneasy. So, I mean,
Okay.
that's a quality that I'm looking for.
Okay,
Transparency.
can you give me a little, I understand transparency, but,
It's like, for instance, right now with negotiations, I think we haven't been transparent as far as what we cannot do and so forth. And I'm not talking just with us, but with ACTs and CSCA. I think transparency will take you a long way than if you don't have transparency.
okay,
I think it goes both ways, it goes up and it goes down. And I think that's important in someone that is able to communicate that. And it's important for someone to actually go to the community and be able to sell whatever the board or the vision that the board has. And again, my colleagues that say, tell us if it's not sellable, If it's not durable, then it's not.
tell us.
But what I'm saying is being able to go out there and convince our community, and we passed 2 bonds. Obviously, the community's invested in us. And being able to say, okay, what's next? I mean, we're planning this and that, but this is how much we can afford and not.
Okay. Do you still have bond money?
Yes.
Okay,
Matter of fact,
There's a lot of, there's a lot of
money. Not only bond money, but we also have
ESSER funds.
ESSER funds,
okay,
which is important because that has to be on a timeline
right,
for us to be able to use it and not lose it.
correct. Okay. As we begin to go through this process, we'll talk to you in closed session about candidates that you may have and kind of discussions that are appropriate for closed sessions. If you communicate with us, we will respond to you, but we'll respond to all 5 of you. So everybody stays current on all the issues. Just want you to know that. So we would encourage you to communicate with us. We will communicate with you regularly. But if you respond, we'll copy that to everybody else so that the whole board is informed of that, okay? And anything else you want to talk about as far as qualities, characteristics, experience, issues?
Let me ask you, when you said respond to all of it, that's not a Brown Act, is it?
No, it is not.
No.
No.
As long as we don't.
Okay. As
No.
long as we don't
It's
respond.
the communication where it's violated is between you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we won't send your email to other people. We will summarize it and send it to you, but we send it to you alone.
Okay.
As long as you don't send it to other people, you're fine. So as we communicate with you, I just want you to know we'll keep that communication open, we'll keep it transparent, but everybody will be informed of that. I'm gonna turn this over to Juan, because one of the things we have to talk about is community engagement. Who do we communicate with?
Similar to the exercise you just gone through. We need to do, we need to collect information from your administrative staff, your employees, your parents, your key community members, and the online survey allows us to do that much more efficiently than, let's say, 10, 15 years ago when it was all paper. It's also easier for people because everyone's pretty much technologically literate. You have a survey that you were given. Our intent, and we worked earlier this afternoon with Eduardo Perez on how it's handled. He has the ability to get this posted on the website and to also communicate directly to everybody who's on that list. Probably the only one who wouldn't be was community members, because many times we'll talk about getting that list of people together. But one is to give everybody an opportunity and advertise it to provide similar input on what they believe the district needs in a new superintendent. It talks about perceptions of the school district, but also in the qualities we're looking for. That way, in the end, it comes back to you, not only what you provided tonight, but what the community at large is saying, okay? We come back and present that to you in a board meeting so that you know what those findings are,
Public board.
okay? Because, again, it's transparency. It's and probably most of it will confirm many things you said today, and there'll be some insightful new comments, okay? We do clean it up, so it's not attacking anybody, but it speaks to the school district as a whole, okay? For any recommendations on your part with the survey, we've used it in many other school districts. It's rather fundamental in terms of the kind of input we want. If you do have suggestions, we would need to know by tomorrow in writing so that we can facilitate getting it out to the community. Our hope is that, and in talking to Eduardo, that it could be prepped for next week and sent out. And within 2 to 2.5 weeks, the results would be in. Okay, it provides everybody an opportunity. By being on your website, it gets publicized. Anyone that goes there, and we could find out what other ways is best to publicize in the district to make sure people know they have that opportunity to provide input. Any questions on the survey?
You mentioned something about if this is going to go, that you're going to send this, well, Eduardo is going to send this to everybody except community members. How are community members going to respond to or to answer this survey?
You read my second point. Good. No, two things. If you publicize it out, not just what Eduardo can do is through the district communication, contact that larger group. There's other groups we do it through advertising, letting them know different community groups. to let them know this is how they can access it. It would be in Spanish and English, not blended together. You pick which one you want to do. The other part is, and the critical part is, we come back to meet with people. And what we do is we ask you, and I'll ask you in a minute, to give us the names of people you would like us to meet with. We don't know, in that communication that Eduardo does, they may not have key community leaders, key stakeholders in the community, alumni who are in the community but don't interact daily with the school district. We need to know from you who that would be. So we need to create that kind of a list to find out who we should talk to. And that can then go from everything from your politicians in the area to chambers, the Chamber of Commerce, to community organizations that you know interact with the district and our stakeholders. So it's really getting it from the board to know who we should talk to. We then come in, and if they're comfortable with the survey, they can do that. But we make ourselves available and calendar meetings with anybody who wants to meet with us. And really talking about what are the needs of the district, what do you like, what are the challenges, much similar to what you just did, and what are you looking for in a superintendent. And again, we summarize that and report back to you on those findings.
Well, because I know students and parents, they do have what we call a parent portal, that is specifically for each student and each parent. So I'm wondering if Eduardo can send a link of this survey to those accounts.
He said he would do that.
Oh, okay, there we go.
One question, Mr. Lopez. Are you bilingual?
Sí, señor. Más pocho que
Well,
nada,
I'm
pero
asking
sí.
because I might send you to certain groups that,
No, I
Don't speak.
would love it. De veras.
okay, that's it, thank you.
So these groups that you just mentioned, we just email them to you? Do we let you know tonight? How's that gonna go?
What are you comfortable with, Gary?
Actually, we've done it both ways. I think tonight it would be great to generate, especially some of the groups you might like us to contact, and we can tell you some of the groups we typically do. And then will wake up in the middle of the night and say, gosh, I should have mentioned so-and-so. Fire that name off to us, and we'll engage that person as well.
Well, I think our unions would be vital, both of them, ACT, CSEA. Not only that,
Can I ask you, city manager, city council, PTAs?
city manager, he's gonna be going to our county, but our rep, it could be Mr. Escobar, which is on the county.
What is that function, your rep?
He's for the Imperial County Board of Supervisors.
What's his first name?
Eduardo Escobar. Eduardo, right? Escobar. Escobar.
How about community groups or parent groups that interact with us?
That's another. I think Dual has.
You and Kiki, they have,
Yeah, but Dual is the one that's most. I've always see him like most actively involved. Is like the parents from Dual School.
Is that just one school you want us to talk to?
No. I want you to talk to everybody, but I mean, there's actually a parent there that's actually very involved, which is Zoe Garcia.
Do you have parent leadership groups at each school?
Yes, sir.
Do you have
So we can get their names and contact them.
Correct.
DLAC and ELAC? Yeah.
So I heard ELAC.
yeah. Or migrant, the coordinator,
Yeah.
that she might know.
So often what we do, if I may, Mr. Lopez, is inside the organization, we would schedule a meeting probably here in the boardroom and invite district office staff. Sometimes depending, we'll work with your staff and say, should we have a classified managers in one group and and then we do the focus group very much like you do with the board, with a group of people, so that we get as many voices as we can. And we schedule one day and every hour groups are coming in. And we include our associations are included in that, and they can come in. All of that information is collected confidentially. We take notes, but when we finish our work, we look for themes and trends. We don't try to report out everything we heard. try to say, what are the general themes we're hearing everywhere, and share that back with you in the community. So it will be our intention to reach your migrant coordinators, your curriculum people, your people in the business office,
And
HR.
our student groups also as well, correct? That are actively, that would be something that I would want on there also as well.
ASB, usually it's secondary kids.
Actually, yeah, secondary kids, but there's also kids that are real, right now with everything going on with negotiations, I think they should be heard also as well. I don't know what group they're from. I think they have like a site, students for ACT, I believe.
Okay, so student leadership group.
Yeah, you could look them up, I think, on, they're on Instagram. I think it's Students for ACT. And they're actually involved,
Okay.
for the last couple of months. They've been coming to our board meetings also as well.
Great.
Are there other community groups that you can think of?
You know, I have one, I just don't know if they're still meeting because of COVID, so I would have to get back to you.
You
Okay.
can email that
That's
to
us,
us.
yeah.
Please do.
I think it'd be
There's
like our,
mostly seniors that have grandkids, that's why I'm thinking it's. But I gotta verify because COVID, I don't know if they're meeting.
actually, our acting city manager is actually the fire chief, for, Calexico. So I think that would be somebody also as well that should provide input also.
That
here.
person's name, you know? So you're saying they're the acting fire chief?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the
We
city
can find,
manager.
we can find.
correct.
Not the, no, the fire
Oh,
chief is the acting.
Is the acting city.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
the
acting,
Thank you,
yes.
thank you.
Isn't it Alhambra?
No, Favela, I believe.
You know, I think the goal is to include as many people as we want, I mean, as we can, or as you can, because we want everybody, to feel that they have a say.
Correct, and can
And
be
even,
heard.
even our staff that's unrepresented on unions also as well, I think they would be big also as well. And some of those are crossing guards that have been showing up a lot lately.
Do
I
you
think,
employ the crossing guards?
yes, we do.
And the noon assistants too.
Correct.
Sometimes some of those more difficult to reach groups, the online survey, there's nobody in your community that will be able to tell you they didn't have the opportunity to have a voice in the process, because we can schedule lots of meetings, but not everybody can get to everything, but they can all go online and complete that survey, and we encourage them, and we could use your help to encourage everybody you bump into to take a minute and fill out that survey.
Is that going to be posted in our website?
It's gonna be posted on your district website. You can send them to your district website, and then the link that goes out will bring them back into the district website.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we could post it also on the website's Facebook page. I don't know, do they have Twitter? We have Twitter also as well, or, yeah? And we could do that also, if we could send that out also on Twitter also as well, I think that'd be something good.
Instagram, all of those
We'll
things.
work
Yeah.
with your staff on it, but if you have anything, send us an email. And again, we'll let everybody know that we got this name, but let's send that stuff to
All
us.
right.
Good.
Anything else?
Juan and Joe, I'm seeing, these are, most typically, we've done some pretty comprehensive group. I think they've covered most of the groups
Yes,
I
they
can
have.
think of that we've reached out to. There's always some unique group, like your senior citizen group, that may be unique to Calexico, that's an important group for us to tap into. So as you think about those, let us know. Sometimes it's the Assistance League, or it's the AYSO soccer, or other people that we wouldn't normally think about can really matter in a community. And we'll also, I'm sure Mr. Thurman can help, and certainly Mrs. Burgos can, know other organizations or key communicators that we can add to that list. So feel free to keep those coming.
Let me ask, is your senior group an organized group, and is there a person who is the head of that?
Rachel,
I think so.
you might, what was the question
Is,
again?
is your senior group an organized group, and someone is in charge of that?
You know what, if you reach out to Escobar, they have the Southern Border Committee. That would be a big one also as well, because that one has actually everybody from here, just in Calexico, which will have somebody from the city, from the school board, from the county, actually even from the small business community that lives right here also as well. So I mean, they're,
That's the kind of group that
yeah.
we're looking for, yeah.
How about,
Yeah, Baja Run.
What is that group?
It's a,
citizens, what about it?
no, you
It's
know
an
better.
off-road, group of citizens that, usually endorse candidates.
Well, not only that, but they help out the youth a lot. They're actually actively involved with the youth also as well.
Okay.
Is there a chance or a way where we're able to email or mail all the people that pay taxes for the school district, which is, I mean, everyone, but as in property taxes?
So we've not ever done a direct mail campaign. That doesn't mean you wouldn't be the first one to do it, so that has to be a cost and a consideration you would have to look at and decide how much an advantage that would be. I would say that a good press release and good release in the community that attracts every man, woman, and child in the district to go on your website and complete that survey is probably gets to your point. But certainly the board can consider a direct mail campaign as well.
You know, you're gonna think of other groups and other names. Just get them to us.
The Calexico
Because then
Rotary, if you
we start contacting them and see what time works for them, and if we can get them in to
Alright.
meet with us.
Calexico Rotary also as well.
Okay.
That's something that's big.
And by the way, sometimes these are just phone calls. We'll make
Yeah.
a phone call to an individual who represents the Baja Runners and just they talk to us a little bit about it. They may say, yeah, this isn't really our organization's thing, but I'll talk to you about what I think about the district.
And then even somebody from San Diego State, I mean, they're here, not off campus here, but that would be somebody I think that should be involved. And, you know, we get somebody also from IBC, you know, getting some input from them also as well, because some of our students end up over there also as well, so.
Very good.
Also the Little League Association.
Any group that you have, will you work with Janet and give her the names of the people? So we have somebody to contact, otherwise it's a group and we can't get to a hold of it.
And I'll,
The soccer league president, what's your name? The soccer league president, Estrada.
so what we often, when you start mentioning a lot, there are tons of youth organizations, and those are really helpful for us to know. What we'll often do is schedule an evening and say at 6 o'clock here in the district boardroom, we're inviting all the youth athletics programs, the youth support programs to come here and join us for a focus group. Because obviously reaching out one-on-one, there's only so much time. And sometimes people are not as interested as you might think in participating, but we want them to know we wanted to hear their voice. And that the board specifically said, reach out to these people, we care about what they say. So we're spreading your brand in the community too, and saying the board is really interested in what you have to say, and we'll try to get them in. And that's just, we're trying to think of efficiencies too, to make sure we can realistically collect them.
We will ask them the same questions we asked you. We're not gonna ask them if they have enough soccer fields, enough soccer goals. You know, we're not gonna go down that street. But we'll ask the same questions of that group that we asked of you.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Mr. Lopez. So we've walked through, you did your focus group, we've walked through the community engagement. You have a little bit of homework. Before you go to bed tonight, I want you to read through that survey. Make sure it's good to go. If you have anything you'd like to let us know, shoot us an email, because we'll be working with Eduardo, and we'd like to get that out first of the week next week. The next bit of homework was to think about your groups. We'll start assembling a list. We'll probably work with Mrs. Burgos to start assembling some of those contact names and folks, and making sure they get specific email invitations usually, or phone calls from us to encourage their engagement in the process. So the sooner you can get those to us, the easier it is for us to include. The last piece tonight, before we go into closed session, is a walk through the timeline. And I think this will really put the meat on the bones as you look forward, thinking, okay, how does this all work and how does it all come together? So I'm gonna, as any good process, I'm gonna start with the end in mind first and tell you that our assumption is as we talked to President Calderon, was that your timeline would be to try to get the perfect individual here by July 1, to start work July 1. That would be ideal. That's a very compressed timeline. We're getting into a super busy market right now. It's feeding frenzy in the superintendent world. So we need to get out there quickly and aggressively. Part of what I've just found out today is 2 of your neighboring districts are also in that same hunt, fishing out of the same pond we'll be fishing, right? Brawley and Central Union, I understand, are. So it's important we get out there and we get in front and let them know only in Calexico. Come here. So this timeline will meet having a superintendent potentially here July 1. Now, I say potentially because Even if you select somebody in May or June, remember they're probably under contract elsewhere. So we need to work with them on a timeline to transition over, but most often July 1 is a realistic date. So if that's indeed the board's direction, let's kind of start at the beginning. As I said, next week, the week of the 21st, we'll open up those online surveys. We'll get an ad posted in EdCal. EdCal is AXA's, which is our California School Administrators source, gets mailed to every member statewide, and so it puts out the word to your target audience. It'll also be in EdJoin, which is the clearinghouse for applicants, for ways people can apply. And if you are a candidate for looking for a job at all, you're on EdJoin doing searches, and believe me, they will be aware of it when that gets posted. The search is a confidential search. And I think that's really important. We'll talk about that more in closed session, and we have a confidentiality a form for you to sign, and I'll tell you why that's important. Any candidate, worthy candidate in the state of California, is going to want to make sure that their application is confidential. If they're successful superintendents or assistant superintendents doing well in their districts, they don't want it well known that they're applying. So we will work with your HR department, and we met with staff today, and Mr. Thurman was nice enough to bring in a couple of your folks to help us kind of talk it through. We will be on your district's EdJoin platform, when I say we, ESS, and we will be the only ones that have passwords to the applicants. And that's important for them to know that staff and others within the organization can't randomly go in and just see who's applying. Now, we are doing that. The only reason we have that information is so that we can prepare it to share with you. It's not confidential with you. We will be getting, you'll see every single applicant will explain, every single person will explain why we don't recommend them or why we do. For your consideration, there'll be nothing hidden from you. It'll be completely transparent, but that information will be under the dome of confidentiality with the board, and we need to assure the candidates of that. And that means what it means. Not talking outside of, not going home and pillow talking about the candidates by name, not talking to your neighbors or saying, hey, what do you know about Bob Jones? He's applied for the job here. All of those are breaches of confidentiality, and we work very hard to maintain a confidential search. And that serves you well because you'll get the best people that way. So we've already mentioned that we've set aside the week of April 4th. So we'll spend the rest of this month collecting those names, getting ready, getting invitations out. And then we'll actually come here in person. Some of us will be doing phone calls, virtual meetings, however people prefer to meet. That's how we'll engage that week. We'll then take all that information, organize it into themes and findings, and we'll write, including the information we gathered from you tonight, and we'll write what we call a leadership profile. And I think in your proposal, we included a leadership profile for another district that we wrote, so you get an idea of what that looks like. It's like usually a 2-page document. No, I'll say maybe 5 pages. 2 pages just kind of explains, this is what the community stands for, this is what we're looking for, this is what the perfect fit is going to look like and need to be able to do and understand. And we're pretty direct. You know, it's not a secret that you're going through negotiations issue. Just, you know, I Googled you before we made the submission. I learned out all kinds of interesting stuff about the Calexico board. That's going to be out there to a candidate. And our job is to say, okay, let me tell you about beyond the headlines what you need to know about Calexico. And we'll start with those plus columns of the really good things about this district, because believe me, they're going to read plenty that is not going to pose you well to attract a good candidate. So we need to get ahead of that story with your help. So we'll come out here, we'll do that work. We will then, on April 14th, we'll present you with our written leadership profile and say, okay, we're holding up a mirror, gang. This is what your community tells you they're looking for. This is what your community sees as your strengths and your challenges. How do we feel about that? We'll look for board consensus that night. That will be then shared with candidates who you invite to interview so they can really do their homework when we get serious about them, and be able to make sure they're a good fit. And we'll also use that. That then becomes your evaluation criteria. And when you go into interviews for selection, we will look back at that data. Say, you know, don't go for the one that you just thought had the nicest smile. What about these things you said mattered most? Can we show you with certainty that these people meet this criteria? So that's the goal. We're asking, we will have a week set aside. I don't know if it's a full week, but several days set aside where all of the application files will be here in the building for you to see. So we'll have a virtual meeting probably with you, and we'll say, okay, guys, here are the 27 people that applied. And we're going to tier those into 3 groups. Green, top tier one. These are the people that most match the leadership profile that you gave us. And we've vetted each of them. We've called their references. We've done our deep work on these. We think you should interview these and pick a number, 6. We think you should interview these. We would be so lucky to bring 6. That would be great. We think these guys are gold. What do you think? Then we'll say, here's some we're putting in tier 2. They meet a lot of your criteria, but there's some questions we have. Maybe they haven't been at the job very long. Maybe they had a problem in their last district that we're still learning about. We need to understand it better. So we've kind of got them in the yellow zone. And then the reds, there will be people apply because they see a salary and think, oh, I wouldn't mind that job. And they'll apply that they have no experience or background. And we just say, those were our reds. Once we do that, we'll share that information and say, this is how we see the candidates. Then we say, come make an appointment at the district and look through the files yourself. Check our work, see if you agree with us. At the end of that time, we get together with you again and we say, okay, you saw the people we recommend for interview. Do you want to see those folks or not? And do you want to trade some out? Do you want to bring up a yellow or a red? That's the board's job. We're facilitating your search. So we do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Or you may say, I want to find out more about why he was only there for a year. And maybe we missed that, and we can go back and get you those answers as well. So that's kind of how the process plays out. Now I'm giving you some specific dates here. These are important because if you're going to go on this, we're going to repair this plane while it's in flight because we're doing it very quickly. We're going to need to get some date commitments from you. We have, I added a special board meeting closed session on the 28th. That's a meeting at which we will bring in the application material. You've had a chance to review the applicants. We'll get agreement on who you're going to interview and consider. I'm sorry, it's April, and it's on the timeline, proposed superintendent search time. That's okay. So down to the 28th, 5 o'clock p.m. I mean, I just inserted these dates based on your board calendars and made sure you didn't have another board meeting. That's nothing magic about that date. It can be a Tuesday or a Wednesday, but that week is probably is when this decision needs to be made. At that closed session meeting, we'll talk about, by name, the candidates, answer your questions, decide who's going to interview. We'll also present you with interview questions that we've gotten from working with you and also from your leadership profile, and we'll say these are the questions we think get to your issues. You guys read them and say, yeah, I don't like this question. Yeah, I'd like to add that question. Can we ask them something about? And that prepares us for round 1 interviews. And that brings, so once we finish that closed session, you leave with an idea of what contract parameters should be. We kind of do a little workshop with you about the contract, because you don't want to find a perfect person and get to contract negotiations and find out the board is way off from what a candidate's expecting. So we get as much of that information and agreements from you up front, so there's no surprises when you pick a candidate. We give them usually a parameter, a range of salary, because that's the first question they'll ask. Gary, what can you tell me? Do you have any idea what the salary is going to be? Because they have other jobs, and that has to make sense. So we'll work with you to get some parameters on that. We then ask you to set aside a Saturday and a Sunday. And we picked May 14th and 15th for those 2 dates. Most of our districts actually finish all day on Saturday, sometimes into the wee hours. But if you're a board that would rather devote the full Saturday and get it done, we only may bring you 3 candidates. I mean, I can't tell you what the applicant pool is going to look like. If we all just agree these 3 are the 3 to look at, then you can do that in a day. You interview 3 in the morning, you come back in the afternoon. If you want to call somebody back for a round 2, you do that same day. If you interview more candidates, usually round 2 is the next day on Sunday. And you say, we'd like to see these 2 back for a final second look. Sometimes boards just invite 1 back for a round 2 just to confirm their hunch, because maybe there is a clear front runner for the board.
So you're gonna be able to do it, like, say, for example, on the 13th and the 14th?
A Friday and Saturday? We can do anything. I mean, that really is the board's design. The reason we do Saturday and Sunday is twofold. First off, we recommend you do those interviews off-site. You go to the beautiful Calexico Marriott ballroom. I don't even know if you have a hotel or a ballroom. You find a place where you can meet off-site, because obviously candidates don't want to walk in your district office on a work day to be interviewed and checked out as they walk in to be interviewed. So having it at a hotel, if somebody owns a building or a meeting room, off-site is a really good idea. It's still a posted meeting. The public can still go there, but often won't.
They have the right to speak to you before the meeting is close, then your interviews can start, but you start as an open meeting.
The other reason we often do Saturday, Sunday, and Joe's completely right, is because candidates are working people. And so if we do a Saturday and Sunday, it's easier for them to get off and come in. But we've done, you just finished one where you did them on a Friday, correct? So that absolutely can be done. We just need to, so let's talk about that a bit, because part of what we like to do when we fly the position next week, when we get it posted, is tell them the dates of the interview so they can hold the dates. Can you make it work, Mr. Alvarado?
I can make it work. I mean, if it's the majority, I'll make it work.
Okay, thank you.
As far as salary, we'll talk to your county office and we'll get comparison salaries. We'll provide that to you. We'll talk to you about what are you looking for as far as the compensation for the superintendent. This, obviously includes health benefits and sick leave and that kind of thing. We'll work with your attorney to develop a draft of the contract so that it's ready to go. We don't want to wait until we've got the candidate and then start talking contract. So we do that right away.
So on that Saturday and Sunday, if we're so fortunate as to give a rose to one of those bachelor or bachelorettes at the end of those interviews, then we would immediately turn it over to council. You would appoint your agency negotiator, which is typically your legal counsel, who would meet with your selected finalists, this is still confidential, and go through the terms of the contract to make sure you can come to agreement on that. The next thing that happens is the candidate action is taken at a regular board meeting, and I say that because the law is very specific that the action to appoint a superintendent can only be conducted in closed session. I'm sorry, in a regularly scheduled meeting, excuse me. In a regularly scheduled, you can't add a special meeting to do it. So we kind of had to look at your board schedule first to say, okay, what's the magic board meeting? We backed it out from there. So if we're gonna get that decision made, you would take action on May 26th, and then the board, hopefully the person would appear on July 1st with that level of notice, one would hope. And then part of our service and part of your contract with us at no additional cost is that we come back and facilitate a transition meeting with the superintendent and its board. It's kind of a getting to know you, what do you expect from us, what do we expect from you? And we facilitate that meeting to help get things started. And then we are also available to do governance workshops and continue to support you to the extent you would like us to. That would be outside of the agreement. That first meeting, that transition meeting, is fully part of your agreement with us, and we're happy to come back and do that. Part of the magic is, November. When do you do that transition meeting? If there are gonna be changes to your board, you hold that meeting. If there's gonna be, that's the magic that you guys can work out and discuss. We're happy to do it any way that you feel meets your needs.
One thing before we leave, we'd like to contact your legal counsel to begin the process of developing a contract. But we need your permission to do that.
We,
Do you have any problems with us contacting him? Okay, we know who she is. Okay, you got that. Great, thank you.
very good. So that's the timeline. I didn't see anybody howl, so maybe we got us some dates on the calendars. Joe had mentioned earlier, part of what you can expect from us is as the search continues, some weekly updates. Like along with your superintendent's Friday letter, there may be an ESS letter. We just kind of tell you along the way, so many candidates have applied, give you a little bit of a glimpse, remind you of the meetings and responsibilities you might have so that we don't miss one. And we try to keep you as informed as we can through that instrument.
No.
Oh, I thought you started to say something.
No.
And some of the,
I can tell you that's good you didn't pick May 10th.
So,
It wouldn't have happened.
it would not,
Why, huh?
why?
It's Mexican's Mother's Day.
that's right.
Oh, well, when's not Mexican's Mother's Day?
Well,
It's
that's
right
that
around
Sunday.
there too, isn't it?
But that's a
Okay.
Well, that's that Sunday. That's what I'm saying about that Sunday.
Well, we definitely don't want to do that.
But anyway, we'll talk about that later on. In regards to these other qualities and stuff like that, we could email you guys later on with updated lists and all that stuff also as well, correct? Because I've seen your guys' emails in the back, so.
Yeah, our
I'll
emails
send
and our
some
cell phone numbers. I'll tell you, all of us are best to text first. That way we can make sure we don't leave you hanging. And just text us and say, can we connect? And we'll set a time and be glad to talk about anything that should come up. And by the way, we will also reach out to Mr. Romero, talk him through what happened tonight, get his answers and make sure that his voice is a part of our mix with your governance team, since he couldn't be with us tonight. Happy to do that.
Any questions that you have of us?
Well, I've been through one before, and it's obvious that this is more of a service than a job.
Oh, good.
What we've heard today, it's good. At least that's my.
I think it was, you guys were way better prepared than our last superintendent search. Ms. Magallanes wasn't privy to the last time it is a lot better prepared this time.
We like to hear that.
Especially timelines.
Yeah.
Because people want to know what's going on. If you have timelines, it goes for anything. I mean, there's no guidance.
But we want to be on your calendar.
Yeah.
So it's important that we give you those dates. Now, they could move, I don't think they will, but we want you to lock those in on your calendar so we don't get ready for interviews and somebody says, I can't be there.
That concludes our workshop, other than what we'll discuss with you in closed session.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, thank you. Announcement of convening into closed session, and it is 6:11.